Thank you for coming. And I want to know, what is the one thing that has surprised you about your life?
Oh, one thing, wow. Well, I'm surprised by the whole thing, honestly. I certainly didn't expect for any of these things to happen, honestly. In fact, the only reason I started a company back in '95, an internet company, was because there were only a few internet companies and I couldn't get a job at any of them. I tried to get a job at Netscape and sent my resume in and tried hanging out in the lobby, but I was too shy to talk to anyone. And then I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll have to start a company because I can't get a job anywhere. First of all, I'd say starting a business is not for everyone. Generally, starting a business, I'd say, number one is have a high pain threshold. There's a friend of mine who's got a good saying, which is that starting a company is like eating glass and staring into the abyss. That's generally what happens, because when you first start a company, there's lots of optimism, and things are great. And then, so happiness at first is high. Then you encounter all sorts of issues, and happiness will steadily decline. And then you'll go through a whole world of hurt. And then eventually, if you succeed, and in most cases you will not succeed, and Tesla almost didn't succeed, came very close to failure, then if you succeed, then after a long time you will finally get back to happiness. It's very difficult to start companies and quite painful. I think that's important to bear in mind. I don't know if that's probably not encouraging. Let me put it this way, if you need inspiring words, don't do it. You've got to make sure that whatever you're doing is a great product or service. It has to be really great. If you're a new company, I mean, unless it's like some new industry or new market if it's an untapped market, then the standard is lower for your product or service. But if you're entering anything where there's an existing marketplace against large entrenched competitors, then your product or service needs to be much better than theirs. It can't be a little bit better, because then you put yourself in the shoes of the consumer and they say, why would you buy it as a consumer? You're always going to buy the trusted brand unless there's a big difference. So a lot of times, an entrepreneur will come up with something which is only slightly better. And it can't just be slightly better. It's got to be a lot better. Number three, I'd say, is constantly seek criticism. A well thought critique of whatever you're doing is as valuable as gold. And you should seek that from everyone you can, but particularly your friends. Usually your friends know what's wrong, but they don't want to tell you because they don't want to hurt you. It doesn't mean your friends are right, but very often they are right. You should take the approach that you're wrong. Your goal is to be less wrong.
If you were 22 today, what would the 5 problems that you would think about working on be?
Well, first of all, I think if somebody is doing something that is useful to the rest of society, I think that's a good thing. Like, it doesn't have to change the world. Like, if you're doing something that has high value to people, and frankly, even if it's like just a little game or some improvement in photo sharing or something, if it has a small amount of good for a large number of people, I mean, I think that's fine. Stuff doesn't need to change the world just to be good.
How many hours do you work? How looks a normal day in the life of Elon Musk like?
Well, it's really varied quite a bit over time. So these days, probably 80, 85 hours a week. For a while it was over 100 hours a week, and that's a very high amount of pain. When a financial crisis hit in 2008, 2009, it was just every day, 7 days a week, morning till night, and dream about work.
Okay.
So it was terrible.
And at what time do you get up normally in the morning?
For me, it's usually about 7.
7? Okay.
But I go to bed late, so usually I go to bed around 1 a.m. or so.
And you start the day with a real breakfast, or just with a coffee, or with a water?
That also varies a lot. I think it's probably true that having a good breakfast is a good idea, but usually I don't have time for that. So sometimes it's made for me, but probably half the time I don't have any breakfast. I had to have like coffee or something like that. But it's really hard to find someone who can grow a company. Running a company in steady state is much easier than growing a company.
Looking for a CEO, when apart from CEOs, when you hire people, what kind of skills do you want them to have for that?
I really just asked them to tell me the story of their career and what are some of the tougher problems that they dealt with, how they dealt with those, and how they made decisions at key transition points. And usually that's enough for me to get a very good gut feel about someone. And what I'm really looking for is evidence of exceptional ability. So they face really difficult problems and overcome them. And then of course you want to make sure that if there was some significant accomplishment, were they really responsible, or was somebody else more responsible? And usually the person who's had to struggle with the problem, they really understand it. And they don't forget.
Yeah.
You can ask them very detailed questions about it, and they'll know the answer.
Okay,
Whereas the person who was not truly responsible for that accomplishment will not know the details.
Which college?
There's no need even to have a college degree
Oh, wow. Okay.
at all. If somebody graduated from a great university, that may be an indication that they will be capable of great things, but it's not necessarily the case. If you look at, say, people like Bill Gates or Larry Ellison, Steve Jobs, these guys didn't graduate from college.
All dropouts, yeah.
But if you had a chance to hire them, of course, that would be a good idea.
Yeah, okay.
The ability to attract and motivate great people is critical to the success of a company, because a company is it's a group of people that are assembled to create a product or service. That's the purpose of a company. And people sometimes forget this elementary truth. If you're able to get great people to join the company and work together towards a common goal, and you sort of have a relentless sense of perfection about that goal, then you will end up with a great product. And if you have a great product, lots of people will buy it. And then the company will be successful.
Yeah.
But really, it's pretty straightforward, really.
Which company you founded was the most risky at the start?
Well, probably SpaceX. I thought it had the lowest chance of success. I mean, I thought both Tesla and SpaceX would fail at the beginning.
You thought?
Yeah,
So?
sure.
Really?
Of course.
But nevertheless, you put all your money in that, in both.
I expected to lose it. Well, technically, what I thought was, well, I'll take half the money from PayPal, and if I lose half of it, that's okay. But then, of course, the companies encounter difficulties, and then I have a choice of either let the company die or put, all the money into the companies. And so I really didn't want the companies to die, so I put all the money in the companies.
Yeah.
And then I had to borrow money from friends to pay living expenses.
Okay. How would you describe yourself? What are the main attributes?
Well, I seem to have a high innate drive, and that's been true even since I was a little kid. I really had a very strong drive. Did all sorts of risky things when I was a kid that why did I do those things? They're crazy. So I think that's very helpful, and I care a lot about the truth of things, and trying to understand the truth of things. I think that's important. If you're going to come up with some solution, then the truth is really, really important. I think sometimes they're just the things that seem quite clear and obvious to me, and I don't understand why they aren't so obvious to everyone.
So would you describe yourself as fearless?
I wouldn't say I'm fearless. In fact, I feel fear quite strongly. But if what we're doing is important enough, then I just override the fear. So, but it's not as though I feel more strongly than I would like. Well, it really depends on the stakes. If the stakes are high, if it's really important, then I will overcome the fear and just do it anyway. Really liking what you do, whatever area that you get into, given that even if you're the best, there's always a chance of failure. So I think it's important that you really like whatever you're doing. If you don't like it, life is too short. If you like what you're doing, you think about it even when you're not working. I mean, it's something that your mind is drawn to, and if you don't like it, you just really can't make it work, I think.
Growing up, parents got me a guitar. Said you could do anything, kid, you could go far. You could be the president, fireman, race cars. The sky's the limit, kid, so shoot for the stars. So I strummed that guitar every day. Found a passion for music, never went away. I joined a couple bands and played a few shows. Tried to impress the girl in the front row. But soon enough, everything starts to change. As you grow up, nobody treats you the same. They try to take your future and make it real safe. You could be a doctor, accountant, or something sane. But yo, whatever happened to the sky was the limit. I fell in love with music, never thought it was a gimmick. I worked so hard on every tune and every single lyric. My whole identity depended on being artistic. Now you wanna strip that away so you feel okay? Cause if I make it to the top, what does that really say? That you shouldn't have given up, that you made the mistake? But if I fail, you feel much better about picking your lane, right? Yeah, things are gonna get better real soon. Yeah, I'ma just do me, you just do you. I swear it's gonna get better real soon.